rock and roll. Legends, what's going on? I hope all is well. I hope you all are having an incredible weekend. First and foremost, thank you so much for tuning in to today's webinar. My name is Tomas, one of the founders of Excelsius AI. The other founder, Job, he is currently watching and in the sidelines here. But nonetheless, we are the founders and creators of Excelsius AI, the trading tool that is genuinely changing the trading game for the better. And so the purpose of today's webinar, the purpose of today's entirety is to really go through Excelsius as a whole, the capabilities of Excelsius, what it can ultimately do, and of course, more importantly, answer any questions that you legends may have. And lastly, really state just why it's so fundamentally important that we start implementing tools such as these and how it can ultimately really go about benefiting your trading. And so jumping straight into it, though, we did get one question from Legend David, just to jump straight into that. And then, of course, we will go into the toolkit as a whole. David did ask, is TradingView the only platform that can be used, or is this an MT4, MT5 compatible platform? So at the current moment, in context to Excelsius's toolkit in its entirety, TradingView is the only platform that allows for Excelsius to host in this manner. However, very simply, what we like to say is that you're simply utilizing, where you would ultimately be doing your analysis anyway, of course, which is TradingView. I don't really recommend MT4, MT5 because it is a dated platform. And as time is going on, it's increasingly seeming like they're going to be weeded out. But nonetheless, yes, TradingView is the only platform that ultimately you can go about utilizing when it comes to Excelsius. But simply, you can, of course, utilize Excelsius's tools and populate them onto your MetaTrader. But nonetheless, I do personally believe that as time goes on, MetaTrader is going to continue to become dated. Now, of course, not being on the App Store just for geopolitical reasons, but nonetheless, just in context to technology and overall use case, TradingView for the legends that are maybe really prone to that MetaTrader side is quite an incredible platform in context, its functionality and just overall use case. And yeah, once you do get your grip on it, it is a next level type of platform in context to benefiting traders. And so just to jump straight into that as well, you do not need any paid version when it comes down to TradingView whatsoever. You can have a completely free plan in context to utilizing Excelsius and just utilizing the tool. Really, when it comes down to just the differences of the plans, in context to, let's say, Excelsius, you're just really talking about alerts, and that's really the biggest thing. Of course, as Excelsius has the ability to be a 24/7 alert system, which we'll go through in just a sec. But nonetheless, ultimately, that is really just the difference in those that are wondering, do I need a paid plan or not? When it does come down to just use case on Excelsius, you do not need a paid plan for the TradingView aspect. If you do go with a paid plan, you're simply just paying for more alerts, which is, of course, capability pertaining to Excelsius. And so, yeah, legends, nonetheless, David, phenomenal question. Any additional legends that have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out in the chat box. Really, how I'm thinking about starting off today's webinar is really giving you legends an overall just view and breakdown of Excelsius. Nothing too crazy. We'll go over just, its overall design, its functionality, reasons behind it. And then after, of course, going through if any questions you legends have and just continuing more so just speaking on the basis of just how personally it's changed my trading as a whole, someone who's been in the game 10 plus years. And secondly, more importantly, also just, talk about the basis of why it's so important and more increasingly important as time goes on, and run through some game plans and, of course, answer any questions that you legends have. And so once again, thank you so much to each and every single one of you for tuning in. Yeah, let's jump into it. And we do have a little gift for you legends at the end of today's webinar. So just want to point that out as well. But nonetheless, let's jump into it. Excelsius AI as a whole is a first of its kind trading toolkit solely for the fact of the functionalities and just overall use case that it has when it comes down to being a toolkit for any and every single type of trader, whether you are a swing trader, whether you are a day trader, whether you're an intraday trader, whether you're an investor, any type of market participant for that matter. If you speculate on value within the market, Excelsius AI is unquestionably a tool that can benefit your trading. We actually had a question the other day in the Discord channel, and the question was along the lines of like, oh, does Excelsius work on the E-minis or the futures markets or options market? And the big thing that I like to say ultimately is that if it has a chart, Excelsius works on it. In the end of the day, the type of deliverable that you're trying to utilize, whether it's the options market, futures market, E-minis market, it's really irrelevant. You're spot trading. In the end of the day, we're all speculating on the same market in context to value. What's really more important is solely around the basis of, do we simply agree on the same thing of markets are moving upwards and moving downwards? How we ultimately deliver, that type of overall, let's say, concluded viewpoint is the most important. Is really up to the individual, but the basis of it is really the most important thing. So, nonetheless, it's not so much about the deliverable of the options or the minis. If it has a chart, Excelsius works on it. And so we designed Excelsius in a way to be a toolkit that literally does everything for you, whether automating the analysis, whether being a 24/7 signal house, whether being a second pair of eyes and ears for you in context to providing you with an unlimited amount of alerts. Excelsius really has the capability to do it all, whether that's improve your current trading, give you confidence to try new things, or just overall make you massively aware of everything that's going on. And we designed it in that way. As I said before, and David had asked earlier, Excelsius is only accessible through TradingView. However, once again, you're utilizing the place where you go about doing your analysis nonetheless, and simply populating what you're seeing here into the brokerage or the trading platform in which you're utilizing. I will say, though, that for those that do have MetaTrader platforms, there is also a trading panel that you do have underneath, in which if your selected broker is there, you can actually just simply connect your brokerage with TradingView, and you can actually just trade directly on TradingView into there. So that is a possibility as well. And lastly, TradingView is, of course, continuing to add brokers as time goes on. So I'm sure as time goes on, there's going to be a tremendous amount more, which just makes it that much easier just to connect instead of having to utilize multiple platforms. But nonetheless, let's jump into the toolkit, talk about the entire design, the breakdown, just the overall reasons on why it was built in the way that it is. So once you do have Excelsius all loaded up, when you do get signed up, you automatically get instant access to the toolkit, instant access to our Discord server, and just everything pertaining to Excelsius. You will have a pre-built layout ultimately loaded on your screen. To access the tools in its entirety, you can do one of two things. You can either head to the left top hand corner of your screen, and you'll have three icons that your mouse hovers. You'll have an eye icon, a gear icon, and an X icon. The eye icon simply just hides and shows the tool. The gear icon, of course, brings out the guts, the toolkit of it. The X icon simply just removes it. Now, nonetheless, you can also access the toolkit just by simply double-clicking on any of the levels here or any of the tools that you see here, whether it's the signals in the end of the day or it's the dashboard. Doesn't really matter. You can ultimately just open up the toolkit in that way. And with that, you'll be provided with the guts inside Excelsius. Now, what you'll notice straight away is that it's a very minimalistic and simplistic type of feel, solely because we understand in the end of the day that there's just so many different avenues that you can go down towards as a trader. And with us, we really want to identify the key and most important elements that traders need when, of course, trading within the market. And that very simply is understanding where the most key and sensitive points are within the market, understanding what simply is going to make price continue and shift, and of course, simply assessing what the trend is. This in and of itself is the fundamental components of what traders need, regardless of the type of trader you are, whether you're a day trader, or intraday trader, or swing trader. It does not matter in the end of the day what it is that you're doing. We're all doing the same thing, just the trajectory of what you're doing simply adjusts whether you're trading on a shorter basis or a longer term basis. And so regardless, in the end of the day, the toolkit's designed exactly in that format to be minimalistic and simplistic, but at the same time be wildly powerful and, more importantly, limitless in context to its capability. Additionally, the toolkit's designed in a completely customizable way, and we solely did that mainly for the fact that Excelsius in and of itself is a toolkit that needs to have flexibility and just overall needs to have functionality in context to use case for traders. We like to look at it as, what you would use your modern day smartphone for, right? You don't necessarily utilize all of the functions or features on your smartphone. You simply use them when you need them. Excelsius is very much designed in this way. That's why you have that customization, you have that flexibility with that regard. So let's go through each tool, kind of the breakdown behind it. We'll remove each aspect of it, and we'll take a look here to the left, starting off with the signals at the top left-hand corner, top left-hand, top right-hand corner. Ultimately, the signals are a really cool design. I'm sure immediately people are going to be saying, where are the TP levels, where are the SL levels, things of that nature. So the signals are designed to be a 24/7 alert system for traders to ultimately let you know of potential buy and sell opportunities. At this current moment, signals are not designed purposely to be standalone take signals because We wanted traders to utilize additional tools on top of the signals, not to just be solely reliant on the signals. However, the signals this year will be getting standalone structured signals with full TP and SL levels, entry points, and things like that. However, we designed it in a way because, once again, we understand that traders trade in a multitude of ways. And with that, we want to provide multitude of opportunities. Once you're getting these buy and sell signals, you have the ability then, of course, to go down to the analysis, to the time frame you're working on, and see, of course, if it matches up with the game plans that you built with Excelsius, or, of course, your current analysis as well. And that's the great thing about the signals. In addition to every single other tool, it's completely adaptable and flexible to the environment and time frame in which you're working on. And more importantly, it needs to be in that way because, again, can't be a fixed type of instrument or just overall tool, because, again, traders and just more importantly market, it's very dynamic in that way. Toolkit needs to be that way in and of itself. With that, you have the ability to generate 4 types of signals: buy and sell signals, and of course strong buy and strong sell signals. And you can generate and dictate how many signals that you would like through the take profit percentage. The higher the take profit percentage you go, and the less frequent but more longer term type of signals will be generated here. And the smaller the take profit percentage you go, and the more let's say a shorter time frame type of signals will be generated. Once again, purposely designed to ultimately provide that flexibility, and as mentioned before, really does adapt to the trader and, of course, what they're looking to do. Can't stress enough in the end of the day that the signals are extremely cool, and the fact that at this current time they have over 11,000 live trades that have been logged since last year that we launched. Well, we actually launched in 2021 of December, but basically all of 22, 11,000 plus trades, maintained over a 91% success rate, and that's reflecting the signals alone. But nonetheless, what we like to say once more is that Excelsius as a whole needs to be viewed as Excelsius as a whole, as its toolkit, not be solely reliant on its engine or its performance in that matter. So mainly because the signals are meant to be an alert system, meant to be a heads-up display. And so with that, signals are really cool in that regard, super versatile, and just really provide a tremendous amount of opportunity. The signals are not the only thing that provide actual buy and sell type of opportunities from Excelsius as well. And I want to stress and utilize that. We do have a multitude of tools that you ultimately can go about providing additional buy and sell type of opportunities for you. This simply tells you when buy and sell opportunities are available in the market. And then from there, simply just dictating whether it's overall appropriate for you to go and take based on your analysis. And so, any questions with regards to the signals, of course, don't hesitate to fire away. But nonetheless, again, just really cool tool and context of the way that they work. And lastly, the signals are a hard trending type of signal. What I mean by that is ultimately you'll see here that, of course, Euro and Excelsius has just been signaling Euro bears for an extremely long amount of time here, and just recently decided to start changing its actual direction in context to structure. It didn't just automatically start buying when price is pulling back, or automatically just start changing its bias. Super important the way that we developed. Again, we're developing a toolkit here that really works with higher time frame type of structure in the end of the day. Not to say it doesn't work with lower time frame structure, but it's incredibly important to be mindful that direction and overall market is dictated by higher time frame structure. And so with that, having a toolkit that represents where direction is formulated in the basis is incredibly important. And so just one more thing to add with regards to the signals. But really nice in the way that they work on any market, any time frame. If it has a chart, Celsius is signaling and firing away on it. Moving on, we do have our rejection zones here, and the rejection zones very simply establish what are known as your tops and bottoms of the market. They help identify potential tops and bottoms, more importantly, help indicate overall deceleration and exhaustion within the market. So very simply, you can see that you have 3 zones ultimately represented on the lower and upper part of Excelsius here. Each zone simply just represents the degree of potential. I say potential once again, support or resistance you can be receiving, because you never know when market's going to bottom out or top out. This is incredibly important to be mindful in the end of the day. We do have additional tools to give you that additional insight of when you can expect a change within direction. But nonetheless, in the end of the day, this is a phenomenal tool just to have as an overall use in context to thinking when price can start bottoming out or topping out. Think of this as another way in the end of the day of utilizing supply and demand, and just more so ultimately looking at where's potential highs and lows of structure in a bigger scale. Now, one thing to be mindful of, and I can't stress this enough, Excelsius is a fully built price action tool. And with this, the zones are very much just representing previous points of structure here. And that is simply how the zones are structured here in the end of the day. They represent previous areas of major points within structure. And as I mentioned before, each tool zones, you can really see this in particular, are adaptable to the time frame we're in. So for example, you can see maybe right now we're a little bit below this upper part of the first zone here. But if we drop down, let's say to a 1 hour time frame, we might actually be in a lower zone, as you can see within here. And once again, that's the extremely cool fact about the overall basis of Excelsius and just how it works, is that it completely adapts to the time frame in which you're working. You can just, of course, see the level of respect that takes place, but it's incredibly important to be mindful. Again, just because you're pushing into a zone doesn't mean you should start expecting an automatic reversal in the end of the day, because once more, you never know when tops and bottoms are. This is why we like to also include a multitude of tools to ultimately give you that additional thumbs up that, hey, price is actually continuing in your favor. But the zones are super cool in the end of the day, because they really do what they're meant to do, which is identify the tops and bottoms, give you indications of where price can decelerate and exhaust, and you can build a multitude of plans and game plans ultimately associated to this. But nonetheless, zones just really nice in that matter. Of course, you can just see, once again, being in a lower part of the zone here, you can just see in the end of the day being at a previous base here, which is why the zone is sitting within there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the same thing for the time frame we're in. As you can see on the entire time frame here, we're not necessarily in that lower part of the zone. Just goes to show the adaptability and flexibility pertaining to Excelsius. Now, on top of the zones here, we do also have our next tool, which is our latest and most revolutionary tool that we recently did just release, which is our key levels. Excelsius has the ability to identify the most key and sensitive levels of the market. This is really a first of its kind in the way that it ultimately goes about doing this. Excelsius not only identifies the key and most sensitive points within the market, but also validates and invalidates in a completely flawless manner. I'll show you guys a demo of just the way it works in just a second, but this is something that we're really proud to say, is a first of its kind, solely for the fact of the way that it works. It's beyond dynamic, and more importantly, the accuracy is on a whole new level. Showing you legends real quick, just kind of how we'll just go through like any basic example here of just ultimately how the levels get sourced and how the levels work in this way. What you'll notice in the end of the day is that Excelsius's levels respect and just more importantly move in such an efficient manner. They validate and invalidate levels only when getting broken on, and they simply successfully hold and source levels as levels continue to maintain valid. The cool thing about Excelsius's key levels as well is they are completely dynamic in context to the way market structure develops. And so with this, you will see points that are once ultimately, previous market structure points continue to develop as time goes on. My phone's in the way in there. Apologies, legends. But you'll see here in something like this, just a really good example here, that you can see Excelsius ultimately is saying that this point at this current time is a low point. Once we do in fact get above these previous highs, you'll actually see this low point turn into a higher low point. Just simply once again reflects the dynamicness in context to Excelsius's market structure and just the overall dynamicness and adaptability to it, on top of its ability just to source levels in the way that it is and just respect and dynamically work in the way that it is. More importantly, its adaptability is really what takes it to a whole new level. And so the key levels are super cool in the way that they work, and more importantly, they are first of its kind in just its overall functionality and use case. And we like to say that not only do we have the number one support and resistance levels in the game, we have the number one just overall engine in the game in context too. Now that V2 is here, and I'll take a moment to really put some emphasis on this. V2 is the first of its kind because it's the first ever engine to have its ability to source data from any single time frame, from a singular time frame. More importantly, validate and invalidate data as the market's continuing to develop. And lastly, continue to dynamically adjust while it's validating and invalidating data. And this in and of itself allows now for truly limitless capabilities and just overall iterations when it comes to utilizing such a tool as this. I can't stress this enough, how wild something like this is. And coming from someone who was manually trading for 8.5, 9 years, and now recently in the automated space, a little bit over 2, I can't express in words the level of efficiency and just overall confidence that it gives, right? Knowing that you don't necessarily have to worry from the analysis standpoint, you can really move at such a level of efficiency and just really focus on what you're really looking for to warrant just simply continuations and shifts or market's direction is really so wild, right? Not really having to worry about, are these key points correct? Is this really what I need to be worrying about? Just really allowing the tool to really set that up for you and really just the individual to show up and go and compete. It's really mind-blowing, especially for someone like me who's just been in the game for as long as I've been in. I like to say this happens all the time for most market participants, which is once you do find an approach and you do start to develop consistency, you tend to sometimes move into a complacent type of environment. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're just ultimately rinsing and repeating the approach, simply just, pulling gains out of the market. But sometimes that becomes negative at the same time, because you're not necessarily venturing out, trying new things, really trying to further your overall craft and skill set. And with Excelsius, it really does give you the confidence to go ahead and do so, because once again, it's really setting everything up for you in such an efficient way, right? It's telling you what's your tops and bottoms in most key and sensitive manners, whether you're on the daily or the 1 hour time frame. At the same time, it's sourcing and validating levels at a whole new level of efficiency. And so it's like, wow, building game plans becomes, a whole new level of ease. It's just a matter of me assessing what game plans do I want to build, and more importantly, what game plans do I want to put out in the market based on how my performance is going. And that's really what the game is. That's something that we really focus on here as a whole, even with the students we work with, which is just, again, it's all about balancing the P&L in context to what trades you ultimately want to put out based on how the performance is. It's really what the game is. It's not about being reactionary. It's about being a risk mitigator and just really managing risk as a whole. But nonetheless, Excelsius just making the game that much easier in that regard. But yeah, key levels are super cool in the way that they work. Just its adaptability, it's just overall respect. It's something that we're beyond proud of to say. Now, going back to just current time, so we'll just focus on where we were before. On top of the key levels, as I mentioned before, Excelsius also does have multi-time frame capability. So I'll just move this over just a little bit. So you can simply go ahead and also source the time frame in which you're interested in. So simply for the fact, let's say you're here on the daily time frame and you'd like to see Excelsius go about seeing its weekly levels, you simply just go into the settings, go into the time frame panel, and go about sourcing the weekly levels. And you'll see here Excelsius will go ahead and source your weekly tops and your weekly bottoms. So of course, if you want to simply just trade within certain key levels, you can go ahead and do so as well while working on specific time frames. Again, whole new level of efficiency and just whole new level of adaptability with that regard. But the multi-time frame capability is really a next level thing. On top of the key levels, you do also have a little bit of style. You do also have 3 styles that you can go ahead and mix and match with the key levels. You do have your solid levels, which will blow up here just so you can see a little bit easier. You do also have your dash levels here, a little bit more dashed up. And then you also do have your dotted levels here. Apologies, my internet is a little bit slower today, so I do apologize about that. And then, of course, you do have your dotted levels here too, which is just a little bit more of a finer type of line. And then you also do have the ability as well to change the color up here. So for any of those that don't like the white or just simply have different types of chart backgrounds, of course, you do have that customization feature. Now, on top of these key levels and, of course, its overall unparalleledness, we do also have a whole new level of ease and context to assessing direction. And more importantly, just the ability to move with the trend if we want to ultimately go about managing our positions or just really looking for further continued movements. So we do have what is known as a trend identifier as well. When selected, this completely transforms the candles of the chart into the exact direction of the market, making just identifying overall direction a walk in the park. This really does take things to a whole new level now in context of building up game plans at the end of the day. And more importantly, just really understanding where market's direction is in its entirety and really making things that much easier so that you don't have to worry about fake outs or noise, and you can really just focus on what the direction is, be structured with that bias, and of course, ultimately, move in that way. Now, with the trend identifier, this additionally is another way that you can go about utilizing for buy and sell opportunities as well. Let's say, for example, we drop it to the 30-minute time frame here, right? Again, you can utilize the trend identifier, and you can utilize when candle colors change or just overall when the market changes its direction. You can go about looking for buy and sell opportunities as well that work, of course, effortlessly. Now, I will say in the end of the day, this is the mentor side of me coming in here. This is what I always tell all my students as well, is that, of course, the lower the time frame you go, the more opportunities you try to build for yourself. Of course, the choppier structure is, of course, going to get the shorter trajectory type of trades you will ultimately get. Because once again, higher time frame does dictate direction. It's incredibly important to be mindful of that. But nonetheless, you can utilize this in the end of the day in a multitude of ways to build you a multitude type of game plans and entries, whether that's reversals, that's trend continuations, whether that's trying to catch tops, whether that's trying to catch bottoms. The trend identifier now really makes just overall trading effortless in that manner. And you can really just do a wide variety of it. Even something like this, just looking at this to the left here, you can just see even a lot of false moves taking place. Watch, you can take just one previous movement and utilize that as a behavior and use it for the next two. You can see market here is bearish very simply. Market attempts to switch direction as indicated by the trend identifier, but then price pulls back and successfully switches back in line with the overall descending momentum, indicates a fake move or a false break. You could take the entry, put your stops above the previous high, run the next move. use that behavior now for the next type of movement. Market breaks out, fails to actually, develop a trend right now. It's just a straight movement. When it starts to pull back, market changes back in line with the previous break. You could take entry, put your stops above, run it down. Look what happens. Market breaks out, fails to actually change its direction, starts to pull back, changes color back in line with the direction, and then continues to drop. Look what happens here. Market breaks out. When market pulls back, market never actually changes back in line with the previous market direction. Market rallies. See the difference? See the behavior change? Again, you can do this in a multitude of ways in the end of the day, and you can really build just a multitude of just entries in context to it. And that's really what's cool about Excelsius. It gives you just such a whole new level of parallelness and adaptability. The biggest thing that we like to say is that this really is a Bugatti in trading terms. It's just about understanding how to drive the Bugatti, and more importantly, making sure that you're doing what you're ultimately trying to achieve, not necessarily what you think Excelsius can do, because Excelsius can do anything. It's a matter of just what your goals are. We do have a full-blown resource center in here that has best practice videos that breaks down Excelsius in its entirety, from its blueprint, its whole ideology, its design, as well, of course, best practice videos and videos pertaining to each tool in particular. And one cool thing before we continue is that we also have what is known as Excelsius Advanced Support. And so as a member of Excelsius, you're entitled to what is known as Excelsius Advanced Support, in which you can get on a one-to-one call with an advanced support team. And you can ultimately get on a Zoom call, show your charts, they'll show their charts. And with that, we'll run through a wide variety of just cases and scenarios, just to ultimately make sure that you're 100% when it comes to what you're looking to do with Excelsius. We'll review trades. Really, we have this because you can't have such a tool like this and not provide live support, live guidance. It's fundamentally needed, just more so when getting adapted and trying out new things in that manner. So, but nonetheless, we do also have Excelsius Advanced Support additionally, always available for members that can book calls whenever you'd like. So on top of the trend identifier, though, we do also have a heads up display here on the bottom, which you will notice by selecting these. Ultimately, this provides a heads up display for traders here. We created this solely for the fact that you don't necessarily need to be confined to utilizing all the tools here in the end of the day. Ultimately here, you should have the ability to be able to utilize certain tools and just some of the tools and still be able to have all the information that the tools are providing. This is a fundamental reason on why we provided the heads up display. Of course, it's dynamic as well as the market develops, just to show you legends here in a live scenario, just how the heads up display ultimately goes about changing. Also, for those, when you do get this, if you ever get a study error like this, calculation timed out, you simply just turn off the tool, turn on the tool. It's just simply the same way of clicking a refresh button for the trading tool here. But nonetheless, yep, the heads up display, though, is completely dynamic in the way that it works. And you'll see it's constantly changing and constantly adapting as the market's continuing to adapt in that way. Of course, it completely moves. What you'll notice here to the left is Excelsius's key levels. And ultimately what this provides is its three most recent key levels on either side, as you can utilize for take profit and stop loss areas. And additionally, it provides the distance between each level as well for those that are trying to gauge position sizes and overall stops. To the right here, you will notice a multitude of readings here from market indications, overall sentiments, as well as indications of where you might be within the rejection zone, which is good to know as well. And then you also do have signal conditions and just overall signal stats pertaining to the latest signals for those that are looking for that most recent bias and recent alert to take place. And so once again, you can completely trade with just some of the few tools that you'd like, and still utilize all the tools and its capability with the heads up display. And so regardless, in the end of the day, just as we mentioned, the heads up display is completely dynamic, just like any other tool. And yeah, it's extremely nice for those that are looking to be even more mindful with regards to what's going on within the market. And just to touch on that, again, this is really what Excelsius does in such a unparalleled fashion, is that it's making you just so fundamentally aware of what is going on within the market. It's telling you exactly where you are, and more importantly, making you mindful of this. So even if you want to trade a little bit more higher risk, or even if you want to kind of try and venture out new things, you know that you're being supported and guided with the data. And that's really a fundamental component of what really changes this as a whole, going from a manual trader to what we like to call a hybrid trader, which is utilizing automated trading solutions to ultimately just provide more efficiency to the table. You're removing a tremendous amount of the human elements involved in trading. And that's what Excelsius does. It's completely removing human elements. It's removing that basis of, hey, I have to spend hours on end doing analysis, re-updating my analysis. I have to constantly be monitoring 1,000 different things at the same time. I don't want to miss this trade. I don't want to miss that trade. Oh, I have to actually live my life and do things. I can't be at the charts 24/7. Right. And on top of that, oh, I have to now go and get no sleep and try to attack every single opportunity. Once again, these are all human elements that ultimately just start to create variables that become problematic within our trading. And so with this, Excelsius completely removes the human element aspect of it. It's simply just a matter of just dictating how aggressive you want to run Excelsius. We have a saying here, which is you can look at Excelsius in the same way that you would look at like a car meter in an RPM gauge. You can either redline Excelsius at 6,000, 7,000 RPM and just keep going and take as many opportunities as you want, or you can just simply find few selected entries and just simply trade at a lower velocity. It doesn't matter. In the end of the day, you have unlimited, potential, and more importantly, just opportunity. It just matters what you want to do with it. But yeah, with that, that's why, once again, just Excelsius as a whole and how it's really just changing the way trading works as time goes on, is that it's just making you so incredibly mindful of something that you cannot do from a manual standpoint. Take it from me, the person who used to be on the charts 18 to 20 hours a day for years and years and years on end. You get to a point where you realize that it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter. You will never able to utilize your entirety of your knowledge base, not from a solely human standpoint. It cannot be, because there's just limitations involved. But with automated solutions, you can really start to get much further. So it doesn't matter if your knowledge base is improving 100% over every year. You don't even get to utilize all of that, because once more, there's still those human elements that will come into play. With Excelsius, you can really now start to push forward, and you can push that needle to really reaching your maximum. And so, yeah, heads up display, wildly active in that way, and just really adaptive. Now, on top of that, we did also provide for those legends that do want a little bit of spice within their trading. You do also have a color theme here. And so very simply, you can go ahead, and I'll turn on the trend identifier rejection zone so you can see a little bit better. You ultimately have two types of color themes. You do have Excelsius's original colors, which of course are the pink and blue. And then you also do have here the OG colors, which we like to say, which of course are your traditional green and red. And very simply, in the end of the day, we do this as well for those that just want to have that overall initial feel of how trading starts, or of course wants to get a little bit more vibrant with Excelsius. Now, this is one of 3 Excelsius's toolkits that's provided. The next one I'm going to show you is another legendary piece of tech that we've developed here. And it really, again, just provides a whole new level of efficiency, and just really, again, allows you to live life in the way that you would want to as a trader. And that's the alert system. So you can't show the alerts in a replay mode because you can't set live alerts in a replay mode. Very simply, though, Excelsius has the ability to be a 24/7 alert system to you, telling you what is going on anything and everything within the market. So very simply, you load up the alert system, you right-click your chart, you click Add Alert, and it'll pull up an alert panel here. I'll pull this to the right so we can take a look at it all. Simply change the condition to Excelsius AI, and from there, you get a whole list of alerts that are available pertaining to Excelsius. And the alerts here are a wide variety of alerts, from telling you the signal alerts on the time frame in which you set them on. And remember, this is time frame dependent. So if you set it on the daily, it'll be set on the daily time frame. If you set it on the 1 or the 2 or the 4, it'll be set on the 1, 2, or 4, set on 30, and so forth. You also have market structure alerts. You also have alerts that can utilize the trend identifier as well. For those that just simply want to know exactly when the trend is changing its direction, you can simply just set a bearish or bullish trend alert. You have unlimited amount of capabilities of alerts. And so you can even set a sequence of alerts to ultimately just give you indications of what's going on. You can set an alert on the daily time frame, and then set an alert on a 4 and a 2 and a 1, and just create a sequence of types of trades that you would like to see. You could say, hey, I'd like to see a 1 hour break of a lower low. And then I'd like to see the 15-minute, create, a higher low. And then from there, you can start looking for the sell below that 15-minute higher low, right? You can really create a multitude of types of opportunities with Excelsius and its alert system. And this in and of itself, again, is taking the efficiency and just the overall trading aspect to a whole new level. You could be on one, if there's just a certain number of pairs that you like to look at, but you still want to be active across the market as a whole, you can set just a wide variety of alerts. And this is what I was speaking about earlier when we first started the webinar, which is, again, you just need a free version of TradingView You don't need a paid version to access Excelsius. However, if you do want to start, the only added benefit that's going to come to you with the alert is ultimately setting multiple alerts if you want that additional amount. Additionally, with the alert system, we do also have our Discord server, in which the Discord server is constantly providing a trade opportunity here, which I will pop up in the screen in just a sec. And so our Discord server is also a 24/7 signal server here, which I will just reshare the screen so you legends can go ahead and see. So ultimately, the Discord server here is a 24/7 Discord server that is ultimately providing trades across all major markets, and just again providing you opportunity, just letting you know, hey, there's potential buys, there's potential sells on this given pair. We suggest you go take a look at it and see if it's something that matches up with your analysis or overall analysis that you built with Excelsius. Once again, they're not designed to be standalone signals. We want you utilizing additional tools in conjunction with Excelsius signals. That's a formula for success. We can't stress that enough, but this will be getting an update as well, and that goes back into every other toolkit. The great thing about Excelsius is that as well, the Excelsius that you see today, and the Excelsius tomorrow, the Excelsius the next day is constantly updated, and that's the best part about it. It's constantly improving, it's constantly getting better, and you need that as well. Of course, as the market is constantly evolving, you need a tool that is adapting as the market is adapting. More importantly, Excelsius is also evolving based on what you legends tell us you'd like to see within Excelsius. So that's a big aspect of Excelsius too, which is, again, how good Excelsius gets and how big Excelsius gets is all based on you legends and what you legends tell us that you'd like to see that would better off your trading. What we like to say is that ultimately we've developed a toolkit here that really does it all. We've developed a toolkit that's designed to tell you the exact areas of the most sensitive points that potentially can make price continue or shift, the rejection zones. We have tools that tell you the exact levels that you need where potential buyers and sellers can come in. And more importantly, the exact tools to tell you when price is going to shift its direction or continue its direction. Additionally, we have tools that make you so incredibly mindful of what's going on through its heads-up display. And we have tools that simply can make Excelsius work on autopilot for you so that you don't even need to be at the charts. How many times you've been at the charts, you would say, hey, I'm looking for price to break through a certain level. And then you come back a couple hours later. And let's say this was the level that you were ultimately looking for price to break. Next thing you know, you come back a couple hours later. And next thing you know, price does something like this. And maybe this was the level that you would have taken to sell on if you were there. But next thing you know, you weren't able to be there. Excelsius will actually keep dynamically adjusting its levels to let you know the first most recent level. Or if you want to fixate on that level, you can go ahead and do so as well. The whole basis is that you have unlimited capability and just potential when it comes to utilization. It just comes down to overall goals and what you're trying to accomplish at that given time. And so Excelsius in and of itself is a first of its kind. And we can't stress enough that the reason why it's so incredibly important that utilizing a hybrid system compared to a manual approach is just simply due to the human limitations involved. It's just simply for the fact that you will run into a tremendous amount of problems as time goes on. And more importantly, as the game starts evolving even more so, more markets start jumping in now, and just more importantly, the game becoming more automated and technical based, the need for an automated system or using automated solutions becomes that much more, only for the fact that markets are not moving past. We're not moving back into the days where we care more about fundamentals. We care more about technicals and these technical points that represent sentiment and how people ultimately view the given asset or given market or given instrument that they're trading at that given time. And more importantly, they're just viewing simply, if we break these certain points, this is ultimately going to warrant a change within our viewpoint or a continued view of what we're currently looking at it, right? And that's really how the game is moving, simply just because there's an increase of automated trading being done. And so with that, automating trading is just utilizing a lot more of these variables, which simply just increase once more the use for technicals. And so with that, unquestionably, this is going to be needed more and more, because as time goes on, you're only just going to be competing with automated solutions. Simple as that. You're not going to be competing with other manual traders. We're not necessarily saying that manual trading is going to completely dissipate, but we are saying that the game will unquestionably be moving into an upgrade very, very, very soon. It's already happening, but in context to its entirety, it will be happening much sooner than everybody thinks. And so that's why Excelsius is here, to provide you that unparalleledness, whether it's on your current trading or provide you new types of trades. And so, yeah, legends, if you have any questions pertaining to what was talked about here, just more importantly, the tools that we reviewed, without a doubt, I'm more than happy to run through it. If there's any pairs in particular that you'd like me to take a look at, any questions, of course, let me know. As I mentioned before, Excelsius works on every single market, and more importantly, works on every single pair, whether that's stocks, whether that's equities. And before we go into some game plans, and more importantly, before we do go into just overall, yeah, without a doubt, we can look at NASDAQ, no stress. I do want to also let you legends know, for being with us for as long as you legends have, we are offering a 25% off for your first month, or even if you are a legend that is an existing Excelsius client, you can also take 25% off your next month on Excelsius. Use EXP Pro to take 25% off for the Excelsius Pro Edition. For those that don't know what the Excelsius Pro Edition is, it's a edition that we recently just launched that is packaged with the setups here. And so ultimately, you can basically get the setups entirely for free with that discount. And nonetheless, again, it's just a thank you, legends, so much for coming in. But nonetheless, we really do want to run through some game plans as well. I'll throw in that coupon code in there for those that do want to go ahead and utilize that. Once again, just thank you so much for all the legends tuning in. Let's take a look at NASDAQ here real quick. We'll take a look at it from Orlando. I'll just pull it up from my watch list here. But yeah, nonetheless, this on equities and indexes is especially recently with the increased volatility over the last 2 years or so has been beyond a dream. Just again, you can just see the overall respect like straight away, just taking a look at how it works as a whole. For those that, for example, would want me to run through my little trader game plan here, you legends put me back into the trader mindset. For those, I only hybrid trade with Excelsius, and then of course just mainly automated now. For those that want to know, by the way, Excelsius eventually will be a fully automated trading system, which you legends will have the ability to utilize in that way. That is currently one of the next main iterations that we are working on. And nonetheless, yeah, it is something that we are currently in the process of doing. David, tell me, legend, what do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to point out? Do you want me to give you a bias? Do you want me to break down NASDAQ for you? Tell me what you want. Take care of it for you. You can see straight away just how beautiful Excelsius makes it. But yeah, tell me what you would like me to do, and I will let you know. I think overall, I can do a little breakdown for you if you'd like. Go and let you know what's going on as a whole with NASDAQ and just the indexes, what Excelsius is telling us. So just recently here, what we can see here from a higher time frame structure is that Excelsius is attempting to tell us that indexes might be switching direction at this current time. However, one thing to be mindful of is that it's definitely a short-term movement right now. Regardless, you can definitely see that it's in comparison to just a grand bearish pressure that we've been receiving for the longest time. But market recently is starting to change in that way. And more so, you can start to see here that we are starting to indicate some bullish sentiment. At the same time here, you can definitely see that we're starting to indicate some bullish sentiment as well. But you can see two things. One, we are at a previous high here, some serious respect. If we also tagged in the rejection zones here, you're also going to see in the end of the day that we are also near the tops as well. So basically, we can kind of see here that NASDAQ definitely looks like we might get another leg to the upside. We had some extreme support being held from previous structure here to the left. But nonetheless, it doesn't take away from the fact that price is unquestionably in a range. It's very important to be mindful of this, right? And once again, you take a look at this from a weekly standpoint, take just the rejection zones off. We'll just look at structure in and of itself. We can just see here again, this movement is very minor for this current time. Again, daily though, looking bullish here. Let's set it up. Let's drop down to the 1 here real quick. Market's definitely going to be bearish for the moment. Unquestionably, you can see markets descending here. Excelsius will tell us that this is unquestionably descending right now. But the question is, how do we start looking for continued longs back to the upside? Weekly's bullish. Daily's bullish. We just want to realize that we're at the tops. My internet is wildly slow today. Very sorry about that. Anyways, see, very simple. Market's bearish right now. Let's build a simple game plan. Set up NASDAQ. Okay, what we can see here. Market's bearish, market's descending. I'm going to pop the rejection zones in. Why? I just want to figure out very simply where price is going to bottom out, start to decelerate, and slow down in. Personally, though, I don't like to use entries in the rejection zones because, again, I personally, through my trading, don't like to catch falling knives. There are those that want to try to time rejection zones with the key levels and try to take entries off of that. Again, I'm not against it in the end of the day. It's just not something that I'm personally interested in. I also just thought of a game plan that we're going to go through here in just a second. We're going to talk about how, how the daily just broke to the upside, changed color, and then rejected the previous key level. We could also build a short-term game plan. You could think, David, like, oh, hey, you know what? Price push up to that daily point. I think right now it's going to reject for the short term. Just go to the smaller time frame, look for it to push into the rejection zone, and then from there, change color, break key level, run the trade. I'll run you through that in just a sec. But anyways, this is a really good game plan. You can see here, weekly's up, daily's up, 1 hour's down, very simple. We can see here we're pushing in. This is kind of key green light for us, right? We start breaking above, you're definitely going to start seeing some really nice bullish momentum. And more importantly, you don't really have anything that's in your way. So it's going to be really clear on something like this. If we do drop down to that 15-minute time frame, it's very much similar in regards to where that 1 hour structure was without Excelsius. You can very much see here in the end of the day that that these are just kind of our main key points that we'd want to get above on the 15-minute time frame here. With Excelsius in the end of the day, you can see very much the same thing. I personally like the 1 hour structure on this a lot better. I think this movement's a little bit too short term. I don't want the zones to kind of really start taking me away from a structure like this, which I think is just a lot better of a play. And if even that means that you just get a deeper pullback in that way, so be it. Watch this though trade real quick here, which I literally just thought of in a sec. I don't know, just came to mind here, and I was like, oh, the legends would like this. You can take a look at this. Market's switching for the short term right now, right? And again, it's short term. Price is in a range in the bigger scale. Weekly's been descending for the major amount of time. So again, you can see here right now that we're starting to decelerate. We're starting to exhaust. You might think, hey, we're going to pull back. You're not necessarily saying you're changing your bias, but you're just saying, hey, we're going to pull back, right? You could drop into a higher time frame, like a 4, even a 2, or even in the 1 in that way, and just simply look for price to push into a zone on one of the higher time frames. Why? Simply for the fact that by pushing into a zone in the end of the day, this is ultimately going to just allow more so for price to start slowing down and decelerating of all this bullish momentum. I hate my internet today. I can't. Beats me up. But anyways, you're going to ultimately have price start pushing in here. Again, you never know when price is going to start decelerating or exhausting, but we do start to reject this key level. You see the respect there, whole new basis. And then from there, basically, you want it to develop a key level, right? Because once it starts to develop a key level, it's starting to develop potential bearish market structure here. And once we do start to break and actually change our color here, we're green light. We're green light to take this out. But be mindful, again, weekly's up and daily's up. So we should be short term. Stops can be above the previous point. For those that need help gauging their stops or gauging their TPs, use Excelsius's previous key levels, previous zones. And we're just going to go something light, little 1-to-1. Why? Because, again, the trade's short term. If you want to be above whole structure high, no problem. Let's be a little bit more disciplined here. We'll be above the whole thing, and we'll run it through. And, again, as this keeps developing, right, we're just going to keep adjusting accordingly. And the biggest thing here in the end of the day is you might be taking the short-term trade. Maybe stops are at break even at this point because you're saying to yourself, hey, you know what? We're actually in this 1 hour, rejection zone here, just as we saw. And it's not something that I'm really interested in the end of the day. And more importantly, I'm also looking for the buy because the daily is also bullish in that sense. So in the end of the day, right, you can completely mix and match and build opportunities. I'm getting a little bit out of hand here in context to excitement. You bringing out my inner trader inside of me. But yeah, in the end of the day, right, it's really just about understanding that there's a multitude of ways that you can build game plans, whether it's you want to trade in trend, whether you want to trade counter, whether you want to trade within a range. The most important thing that we like to say ultimately is that this game is just a game of value. It's about just assessing whether price is going to move upwards, move downwards, whether you use options, E-minis, futures, your spot trading, whether I give you $100 in cash and we're doing an exchange, right? It doesn't matter. We're just assessing value in the end of the day. And more importantly, we're just assessing, what simply is going to make that value appreciate and depreciate. The deliverable in the end of the day is completely irrelevant. And so, yeah, legends. Any other questions? Any other examples that you'd want me to break down, run through? I'm getting a little warmed up now with Excelsius over here. But yeah, Excelsius pretty unparalleled in just the overall the overall basis. Again, you can see we took that entry on the 2 down here. And Excelsius started switching direction on the 1 up here. So you might have even been able to get, that would have definitely TP'd on the 1. And maybe again, maybe your data shows in the end of the day that it's more beneficial to go ahead and take the entry on the 1 instead of the 2 because you think a shorter term movement's definitely more beneficial for you in that way. But yeah. Nonetheless, though, legends, the other thing that I want to bring up as well is if there's any other legends, that ultimately are looking to get on additional calls with regards to Excelsius and really want to see how it can acclimate on their trading. Without a doubt, I'm more than happy as well to get on a call with you legends and just break down Excelsius as well, see what's going on. It's something that, once again, we're beyond proud of, and we're really trying to bring this to as many traders as we possibly can, solely for the fact that it really does everything that a trader would need. Once again, identifying your most key and sensitive points, telling you the exact trend, telling you when price is going to switch or continue, being a 24/7 alert system. There's nothing else that you need in the end of the day except these tools, right? Because these tools are the fundamental components of just what the game is in and of itself. So yeah, if anybody ever does want to get on a call, let me know. You can either reach out to me on Instagram at ThatFXTrader, or as well, you can book on our site at pinksand.co. Yeah, and you can look. I was trying to think of what the book online URL is, but you can just look up under the support, and you can do book online as well. But nonetheless, yeah, legends. Were there any other examples or questions that you legends like me to run through real quick before we run off here for today? Type it in the chat box. If you legends want to unmute your mic, we can unmute your mic for a sec. Once again, as I said before, Excelsius at this current time is not a fully automated tool just as of yet. However, it's not to say that we are not currently working on the automation. The automation is actually already built. What we're currently doing is just simply acquiring data in context to it. My partner and I just don't feel that it's appropriate ultimately to go out, of course, start moving into a capital management field without, of course, having a tremendous amount of data associated. And so currently, that is just where we're currently at, just consolidating the data and refining accordingly. And so, yeah, nonetheless, though, for those that do wonder with regards to that, it will be coming out. It's just a matter of a time thing with regards to when we can release it. But nonetheless, once more, I will say again, can't stress enough, just thank you so much to each and every single one of you for tuning in. Once more, for those that are looking to get started with Excelsius, you can use EXC Pro for 25% off the Pro edition. And as well as you can use code V2, which will take 20% off the Excelsius edition in honor of V2 launching. And then additionally, for those that are also in need of any type of trading education or things like that, we do also have what is known as buying the funded accounts, being a new trader while I get education and know how to trade. Yeah, absolutely. So if you legends are interested in the funded accounts, or just more importantly, just the funded trading aspect, that is something that actually we do specialize in. So basically, we have what is known as our all-in-one program here. And very simply, our all-in-one program is designed to rinse and repeat legends to full-time trading status, whether you are a blank page individual or whether you are a advanced trader. It does not matter. In the end of the day, this program is designed to turn you into what we like to call a data-driven portfolio manager. So yeah, with regards to our all-in-one program or our Excelsius funded program, ultimately we do provide both. I'll go through these in just a sec, but very simply the way it works is it works in 4 stages. We move in the same exact process as the way that we move in the automated stance, and that's why we're so successful in the way that we move with this. Very simply, we move in 4 phases. Phase 1 is the foundational phase. Very simply, we make sure that you're 100% from the manual standpoint. Then phase 2, we slap on Excelsius. So what we like to say is phase 1 is simply building your Tony Stark. Phase 2 is slapping on the Iron Man suit. Phase 3 is actually the most important phase, not phase 4, which is passing and scaling and working with the funded accounts. Phase 3 is actually where all the business is done. Basically, we teach you not just how to simulate, but more importantly, that trading is actually won in the simulator, solely for the fact that when you do acquire a strategy, you acquire any type of approach, you could go into the live markets and try to trade, but your confidence is ultimately not going to be built because, again, trying to build your confidence off of live performance is really difficult solely for the fact that you're getting different variables every week within the market. And so with this, developing your confidence in your overall approach in a simulated environment is a completely different type of approach, solely for the fact that you can actually go develop a finite type of strategy that you're looking for and force time inside of you, which is not something that you can do with the live markets versus you have to just be, accepting of what it is at that given time. And so with that, we teach you to A, how to backtest, but B, more importantly, how to acquire the data and refine the data, because what this program teaches you is it's about acquiring data, simply refining the data, and then simply just dictating what types of trades that you ultimately want to put into the market based on what your backtesting does. And then simply, lastly, we move into the 4th phase, which is we do the live trading together. It's one thing to show you the streets. It's another thing to actually walk the streets with you. And so with that, we do live trading together. We work on the funded accounts together, and we, of course, pass, scale, and maintain you. We've currently partnered with a prop firm, which is known as City Traders Imperium. just real quick, the reason why we did partner with them versus like FTMO and other companies is solely for the fact that we want to partner with a prop firm that represents our values and ultimately what we're trying to do, which is promote proper and real trading. A lot of these prop firms, the prop firm game is an incredibly cool concept solely for the fact that it really does expedite the process for traders. Take it from me, initially coming into the game and then also being a mentor later on down the line before Pink Sand started. I really saw so many problems that came about for those that would learn an approach and then try trading with small capital. So many just bad habits start developing, a lot of emotional issues and things like that. And so the prop firm game is a phenomenal solution to that. The negative is the unrealistic expectations that it does provide in the end of the day. And what we mean by that is, again, some of the prop firms are designed to have unrealistic expectations into goals and overall types of trading. Like, for example, FTMO and others, they'll say, for example, hey, make 10% in the first month and make 5% in the next month. And it's in the next 60 days. And it's like, wow, you only make 15% in 90 days. But institutional traders on average are returning 10% a year. So why am I returning 6 times? 15% in 90 days is 60% over a year. Why are you asking me to return 6 times what the average institutional return is? That doesn't promote good trading to me. That promotes sign-up money to me, in my opinion. And what starts to happen is it forces our traders to think that they have to trade in this manner because it's what actually deems good trading. And that's not necessarily true. And that's why we partnered with a company such as City Traders Imperium, because solely their prop firm and the way they're structured is they have funded challenges which range from 6 to 12 months, and they simply range from 7 to 10% account growth. More importantly, they also scale you every 10% you make on the account. So once you do get your funded account, every 10% you make, they also double your investment up to $2 million. And you have the ability to get 2 funded accounts. The whole reason why they do this is because they're looking for real legitimate traders. And so with this, when we came together and we talked, they loved with how we go about with Excelsius, because once again, the way that we very much work is we all go about teaching you how to trade, and more importantly, how to utilize not just the manual approach in its most finite way, understanding how direction works, what makes price continue, what makes price shift, and then building entries off of that. But then, of course, slap it on Excelsius. But the thing that they love the most is the fact that there's no risk to you or I in context to trading in the end of the day, because we can guarantee success solely for the fact that you're not allowed to go out and live trade until you prove to yourself that you're successful in a simulated environment. And then simply all you're doing from the simulated environment into the live trading is simply just repeating the same thing that you've been doing. The simulated environment is no different to the live markets. Simulated environment is just the past trading of the live markets. So in the end of the day, you are simply just proving that you in and of itself can obtain profitability. And once you go ahead and do that, then we move into the second phase, which is just making sure that you become conditioned to go ahead and just do what you have been simulating. And then the third phase, which is simply live trading together and teaching you not just how to be profitable, because that's irrelevant. You learned that in the first phase, but more importantly, how to consolidate data, really read what your trading's doing, and really go about managing and moving in that way. And so by doing so, this develops what we like to call portfolio managers, people who are just constantly assessing risk, protecting their capital, and just understanding that my confidence, my trading is going to be developed in the simulation. I've never heard of a professional athlete in the end of the day not train. So as a trader, we have to find times to ensure that we're trading. And this is what we really emphasize in this program, which is being conditioned as a trader. People don't focus on this in the end of the day. They focus just on trading and, more importantly, trying to teach some subjective approach, which once again, more times than not, is built from someone's bias or their overall feeling of the market. The way we trade is objective, black and white in context to what makes direction, what makes price move, what makes price shift. Acquire the data, log the data, put the data in the live markets, rinse and repeat. And so with this, this is our all-in-one program, and we do have basically the difference in the packages that you see here is just simply the type of funding that you would receive in the end of the day. And this does come with 12 months of Excelsius. Additionally, the personal support we do is 3 months together, in which you do 2 sessions a week, 90 minutes at a time on a Zoom call, in which we personally get on a one-to-one call, and we work through the entire program together. And then on top of that, you do receive your funding as well as 12 months of Excelsius. We also do have what is known as the Excelsius funded support for those that have pre-existing funded accounts and want help either scaling them or actually passing them or getting them out of the drawdown, whatever the case may be. We specialize in that as well. We don't care if you have other funded accounts. We just simply, of course, prefer utilizing our prop firm just because of the variables that they reflect. But we also help on that side. And additionally, a part of being in this program, regardless if you do the funded support or all-in-one, you will be a part of what is known as our all-in-one channel here as well. This is a program designed to have legends in here, of course, part of the all-in-one or funded programs where everybody's trading off of one system. The whole basis is that everyone's moving in one unit. The reason for this, again, is that everyone's simply trying to achieve the same goal, which is simply go full-time and trade full-time in that manner. And so with that, everybody moving in that way is super important because, again, at that point, when you all become proficient, you all know how to move in that way. Ultimately, it's a matter of just, being on top of, just the markets and being able to help each other out. Context to pointing opportunity or saying, hey, you should have adjusted your stop here and things like that. Last but not least, what we also have is known as a live tracker here. And this live tracker is a first of its kind solely for the fact that this live tracker tracks every single trade available for every single week and every single month. This is done purposely so that students can gauge their overall performance with the current performance of trading. And so with this, we do this because we want to be completely transparent, completely non-biased. We want to be completely open with what the results are. Because once again, your trading in the end of the day can be completely skewed in context to what the actual results were. Maybe you only took 3 trades when there was actually 10 available. That tells us there's an activity problem. Maybe you did take 10, but maybe you're only taking 10 of a certain type of trade. That tells us that you're being too leaning towards one side. Maybe you're actually overperforming to the generalized data, which means you're actually selecting your data better than the general market is, which is phenomenal. We do this once again to ultimately provide that level of transparency and, more importantly, be able to provide that confidence that, again, it has nothing to do ever with a strategy. It's all about making sure that you personally are staying conditioned and continuing to do what you need to do to continue to be profitable. At this current time, we are currently up over 4.1% with really bad conditions in context to it all. On average, our hit rate does sit much higher than where it currently is, but nonetheless, in the end of the day, it's completely irrelevant. We could care less about those variables solely for the fact that what we care about is simply 2 things. Are we profitable? And what was the cost of being profitable? At this current time, we're up 4.12%, risking only 0.25% per trade. And secondly, more importantly, if you do take a look at the total trades, we've taken 14 total full losses out of 89 full trades. With this, that tells us that our loss exposure as a whole is less than 20% in its entirety, which means even in subpar conditions, which they genuinely are because they're very choppy, in the end of the day, we're still under 20% of a full loss exposed environment, which means that on average, 85% of the time, we are winning, partially losing, or break even. And that's a fundamental component of how we teach trading, and especially in the all-in-one program, which is it's all about protecting capital and mitigating risk. This is the number one aspect of the game because, once again, you could trade such a perfect technical structure. Maybe you've taken this trade before and it went through, but any little variable can change the potential basis of that technical structure. Once more, because in the end of the day, technicals at their current and how they develop as time goes on are 2 different things. That's why constantly moving with the market, protecting capital as time goes on is so fundamentally important. And so with this, we are currently up about 4.12%, which would mean on average, people are passing currently with current conditions funded accounts on about a quarterly basis. However, what we also like to say, and I do want to point out as well, it's just me being me, but this pullback in the end of the day is just personally because I know November as a whole was an absolute incredible month. I know some students that were part of our funded program that were more than halfway through their funded challenge in the first 2.5 weeks of November. And so I just believe that ultimately, once again, it was just simply one of those. But nonetheless, we like to be very transparent with what it is. You can see here ultimately that this is a sample, an example of what a data sheet would ultimately look like. Once again, we teach in a completely objective and automated manner. The reason why we go about doing it in this way for the legends that want to trade in the manual approach is because there's no difference to the way we go about our automated approach. You simply acquire data, you consolidate the data, you refine the data, and you simply input the data into the market, and you decide which type of trades you want to take based on how your performance is going. It's simply a balancing beam in the end of the day, and that's what the game is. It's just a balancing beam of P&L, and it's just simply dictating in the end of the day what type of trades ultimately do you want to put into the market based on ultimately how you are forming. And that's really the basis of what we teach here. But first, in order to do that, we have to move in those phases. And so with that, though, that's the all-in-one program. That comes down to the funded programs. For those that are asking from the educational standpoint, we specialize that as well. One thing that we really like to say is that we're a one-stop shop when it comes to it all, whether that is trading related automated solutions, whether that's educational based funding, we do it all in that manner. And so, yeah, legends. Any other questions? Thank you so much for that question. That was a great question. rock and roll. Well, legends, listen, once more, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to each and every single one of you showing up. We're definitely going to be doing more of these webinars in the future. We're going to be doing different types of webinars, different types of overall, game plans with webinars. And nonetheless, we're going to be having a lot of cool things coming out this year. Once more, looking to get started with Excelsius, definitely use either code V2 for 20% off or EXC Pro in all caps for 25% off on Excelsius Pro. And additionally, if you want to ever get on a call personally, if you want to talk further about Excelsius or the educational side or anything, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Once more, thank you so much to each and every single one of you tuning in.